Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast, Dragon Ball edition. That is right, Dragon Ball edition. The Dragon Ball portion of the L7C is back. So we have the Dragon Ball expert with us, Mr. Mitch Oso. How are you doing today, sir?
Oh, it's good to be back, but now you're putting me to work, man. It's like I enjoyed my vacation, so I was enjoying just sitting back and just seeing what everyone else was doing, and letting everyone else kind of take the reins. But it's good to be back, man.
Yeah, because the last Dragon Ball chapter was August 19th, 2022, and the movie was around that time as well. So we haven't had Dragon Ball in the whole fall season. We're in winter now. Like in the entire fall, we had no Dragon Ball.
Yep, August 19th. That was summertime, man. We're recording this on the 21st, the day after the chapter releases, first day of winter. Literally, the entire fall season, we did not have a manga chapter to review. It's been a while. So,
been a very long time. And before we talk about this chapter, obviously there was stuff coming out from the typical people who put stuff out, Chronicles, Geekdom, all that stuff, saying that we're going to have a chapter in December. And to a lot of people's surprise, it was a prequel-ish to Dragon Ball Superhero. So I guess this is going to tie it in with the manga and stuff. So Mitch, it got confirmed for a lot of people that Granolah and Moro happened before Superhero.
Yep. So it's happened. All of this has still happened before the 28th World Martial Arts Tournament. So we haven't. Well, hold on. I forget. I need to brush up. Was the movie after the tournament?
No, the movie is right before it's near the end of Z.
It's right before the 28th World Martial Arts Tournament. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a nice little refresher. You see, that's how long it's been. I just get a little rusty with my knowledge here. But yeah, it confirmed that just the time placement for all of this stuff. So yep, we're still before the end of Z. So I mean, our hopes that they retcon GT are still alive, but that ain't happening. Nothing ever happened that we wanted to. But that's a discussion for another time.
With them confirming the placement, I know when Superhero came out and everyone's like, when did this movie take place? Is this in Granolah happening at the same time, or it's whatever? Now it's confirmed after. Obviously, now we go back to a thing we talked about a long time ago, which can now be really revisited again. Like, how strong is Orange Piccolo? How strong is Gamma 1 and Gamma 2? How strong truly is Cell Max and Ultimate Gohan? Because since we know that this happened after Moro, Piccolo saw Goku and Vegeta versus Moro, and he said Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 were as strong as them. So now we know, the time frames.
Yep. We do, and I don't know if I agree with all these power scalings, but we never agree with these power scalings. No one does. It
Right.
Doesn't make sense, but
because now the debate you can guess, because now we know time frame, the Gohan versus Frieza.
It still has to be Frieza, the question that we're all going to have to ponder on is, are we going to see Black Frieza before the 28th World Martial Arts Tournament? And if that's the case, then then you have to, when next time you watch Z and you're sitting there and you're watching Goku and Vegeta and all of them go and get Oob and all that stuff, you're literally going to be sitting there thinking that, wow, Frieza's really out and about, and they're just sitting there, just having a little fun time, just enjoying, the tournament, while probably, billions of people and numerous civilizations are getting just, enslaved and destroyed, and they're just chilling there, just having a good old time. So, yep, that ending of Z. It was 30 years ago, 30 years ago that was written. And,
yep.
You can't harp on someone for what they thought was going to be the end to the franchise.
Agreed.
But sticking Super into that 10-year period, it just makes things a little awkward, per se.
Yeah, because now if you're thinking like that, they were having their fun time where Oh, Beerus and Whis, what are they doing? Why aren't they at the tournament? Obviously, hindsight, like you said, Frieza running amok. What are the other universes doing right now? What if there's another tournament? We're just out here having fun. Like, what's
Yep.
Roily doing right now? Like, now you have all these questions.
Yep. It's just goofy. We'll see how they try to work it out. It's not going to be a smooth ride, but I don't think like we're going to run into a billion speed bumps. But well, we'll just have to wait and see. But we have this chapter, this prequel to Superhero, and
Yeah.
I think that was the one thing that this is going to be a different review for everyone listening because I'll be honest with you, we knew that this chapter, and maybe you've read the chapter or maybe you've heard through the grapevine, but if you haven't, this chapter was a filler because as we've said, this was the ramping up for the movie, and it was a super long chapter. We get the standard 48 pages. This was 55 pages. It followed Goten and Trunks, who have taken the role of trying to be a superhero. Just like Gohan whenever he was Great Saiyaman, and it was just the intro to this little mini filler arc that we're about to get to him. But it starts off. Actually, the pages are in color. The first
Yeah.
like 5 pages. Pretty nice to see some stuff. Because it starts off on Beerus's planet, and Goku and Vegeta are there, and Goku, Whis, and Beerus are having a meal after the fight on Gas against Gas and Granolah and the Heaters, all on Planet Cereal. Or, yeah. And I lost my train of thought.
On planet. Well, Goku,
Yeah.
and they fought Granolah. They're back on Beerus's planet, and they're just chowing down.
Yeah, they're just chowing down, and they're thinking about how they're going to defeat Frieza. We actually see Frieza in
Yeah.
his Black Frieza transformation, which is pretty sweet. Not all gold and purple, for example. Obviously, with how the name suggests, he's mainly his white look, but different parts of him are the color black, and it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good in color.
It's weird now because they haven't had to chase Frieza and power level in a long time. In like
Nope.
a long time. So now that they know because for people, remember when Frieza showed up at the end of the Granolah arc, because me and Mitch, we gave up hope because it was almost 2 years and this dude was not seen. And then he shows up the last chapter, kills the main villain, KOs the heroes in one hit in his new form. So remember, Frieza is on a whole different level of power than true Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego.
Oh yes, he is without a doubt the greatest mortal
Mm-hmm.
that is in Universe 7, bar none. And it was interesting, like you said, Goku and Vegeta and Granolah, they had to grind out that win against Gas, and he just pops out of nowhere. Frieza does, and puts his fist right through Gas's gut, kills him, stomps on his skull, and brushes his remains into the dust. It was epic and sweet. So how that will proceed after this arc, this mini filler arc occurs, yeah.
You think they can catch him? Because I guess my question is like, if Frieza thinks they can catch him, he should just go back in the time chamber. He has his own personal one now. Like, that is absurd. Like, they need to go find that and blow that up.
Is that the same one though in which Goku and Maris trained in? Did we ever confirm that? I don't think
Not
so.
confirmed
Since
yet, no.
so, I mean, if that's the same one, then Goku knows where that is, and maybe he can just get rid of it. But if there's one random one sitting in the middle of a desolate planet that Maris knows about, then for all we know, there's an infinite amount of those rooms around for anyone to find. So,
Remember back in the day where they used to say you can only go in the hyperbolic time chamber twice in a lifetime?
yep, yep. For
If
like, what was the max?
it was
Max
all,
time? You couldn't be in there for more than 24 hours, but
yeah.
like at one time, and then you can only be in there for like 2 times. But Vegeta just showed that was BS.
Mm-hmm.
Going in there, destroying it to get out of it. That was
Yep.
kind of fun because we sat there during Z wondering how in the hell Gotenks, Boo, and Piccolo were going to get out. And of course, they had to rip uh, the dimensions in half just to, traverse the universe there. But Vegeta just powers up, gets real strong, blows up the door, pisses off Mr. Popo, and just goes on his merry way. So yeah, the hyperbolic time chamber it's been retconned a lot, but again, same kind of concept as with the writing of the end of Z. There, that was 30 years ago. So
But yeah, we go from there and then continue on, man. We get to see Goten and Trunks as true teenagers.
yeah, the one thing that's nice about this chapter is just it's a change of pace.
Yes.
So we don't have to focus on Goku, Vegeta doing the same damn thing. They train, they fight a villain, they train some more, they fight the villain again, and then ultimately some sort of BS happens, and then they train again or they fight anyway. So, but yeah, it's nice if you like the Sandman art with Gohan back in season 7 of Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, you're gonna love this. You're gonna enjoy it, and it was pretty good. So basically, I'm gonna give you the quickest rundown possible.
Yeah.
It starts off. It shows that uh, Goten and Trunks they show up at a bank robbery, and they are in their superhero costumes. They call themselves Trunks refers to himself as Saiyaman X1, and Goten is Saiyaman X2, and they got all their goofy poses that is just a staple with the show, with the stuff. They beat up the criminals and so on and so forth, and then they're talking about how to get their uniforms to be more easily accessible, like putting them on and off. And Trunks makes a remark that he'll go see if Pilaf can actually create something for them, and Pilaf does, saying that um, part of his deal, he's going to try to steal the Dragon Balls from Bulma, and Trunks need not tell her their deal, and Trunks just, says that they have a deal, and but Bulma finds out. So he takes his little, so yeah, Trunks takes the newly assembled costume wristband that he has. And he takes it and he tries it out. And in the meantime, though, there are Capsule Corp has these little robots that are, they're helpers for people, their own little personal servants, but they're kind of going haywire in the city right now, and no one knows why. But around the city at night, zombies are appearing. So there is something that connects the two, and Goten and Trunks, they find one of these zombie people walking around in the evening, and they discover that he has a remote. And as he goes up to these robots, he's making them malfunction, and the robot runs away, and they follow the zombie character here to a abandoned mansion, and they find that the robots are being reprogrammed by a group of zombie androids, as we kind of find out, called Alpha Squad, I believe is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they were created by Dr. Keto, who is Dr. Zero's grandson that we all saw in the movie there. And Trunks and Goten, they fight off. Well, Trunks does. He fights off the team there, the zombies, and he finds a safe that has Dr. Zero's research into it, and he takes it and he takes it home, and Dr. Hito arrives and he discovers that his stuff has been ransacked and stolen, and that's about how the chapter ends. Nothing really more than that, other than the typical stuff like, Trunks is, still trying to kind of woo Mai into, being his girlfriend and all that stuff, and she has absolutely no interest in it. And that's about it, I think. Like,
Yeah,
Kind
no,
of a
that's about it. You're right.
I'm trying to like sprint through the chapter to see if I missed anything, but
I
no,
mean, there was
that's
cool,
about it.
there was cool stuff like I would never suspect in 2022 on like like one of the first earlier pages where we get an appearance from the flying Nimbus.
Where was that?
That
Okay.
is on page. It's on page 12 where Goten says, "See you at school tomorrow." You see the flying Nimbus coming to pick him up. It's right when he gets the call from his
Oh, I
mom.
see it there.
Yep.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I totally missed that. I just thought he was just like flying off. But again, I was trying to, read this chapter a little bit quick there. Just missed that and didn't get to absorb it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a nice callback to, pre Dragon Ball before everyone forgets what even occurred in Dragon Ball with,
Right.
today's society. But
What do you think happened to Orange High School? Because now we got Blue High School.
since closer to a big city, I've just come to learn that, some school districts just have multiple, they have multiple high schools, maybe like the school district in which I'm in, they have a building just for freshmen, just ninth grade, and then their high school has 10, 11, and 12. So it's like, blue, maybe blue is just, I mean, how old are they? They would be around that age, like early
Mm-hmm.
teenagers. They're not even driving yet. So, I mean, maybe blue is just where you go before you get to orange. So,
That's a good point. It was interesting because with like this whole superhero gimmick thing, like why would they? It makes more sense for this Trunks to like have a secret identity than it did for Gohan back then. And the reason for that is that like when he sneaks back in the school, he's like not even the heir of Capsule Corporation because like technically everyone knows who Trunks is because of his mom.
hmm yeah,
So it's like
everyone on the planet should know Trunks. Just they're the richest and the largest, the richest family and the largest company in the world, which, they mentioned that in the movie. So yeah,
yeah, and I
Trunks,
guess with
blue.
Goten too, it makes sense with the secret identity because like if you do the whole superhero connected dots, his brother is Gohan, who was married to Videl, who's the daughter of Mr. Satan.
hmm Yeah, apparently TMZ does not exist in the DBZ or DBS universe because there's no way in hell that those two are not the most known people in that entire school. There's no way.
I agree. I agree, man. Like, because I was like, all right, it makes sense. Because I almost had to think back to Dragon Ball Z. I was like, wouldn't they already know who Trunks and Goten are? Because like, there's official record of them fighting in like that junior tournament. Because I was like, I don't think that got erased when they made the wishes after Boo.
I don't think so. No, because that occurred before all of the destruction of what Vegeta caused. So
Mhm.
I don't think that got erased from people's minds, but I'd have to go and actually hear what that wish exactly was.
Right.
Because if they wish for the entire tournament to be erased as well, like, and no one remembers that tournament ever even occurring.
No, right. Agree on that. And then we did. It's funny too because you see a typical teenage moment where Goten's excited to go to the movie, and Trunks like, I only have two, man. I want to ask Mai, and then you go to that signature. Trunks was putting he didn't believe in bros before hoes, man.
That is true. Now, I will say there is one thing that kind of made me cringe because there's no way in which teenagers talk about it like this in today's age. But when they were playing video games, and unless this was just filler for who did the lettering for this, it was a new person. It wasn't. I think. Give me 1 second here. The lettering was by Brandon Ovia, which
Mhm.
you could see that on page 5 there, right in the middle, because Caleb Cook, he still did the translation, but maybe Brandon couldn't fit the acronym for in real life.
Mm-hmm. When
Because
Trunks,
yeah, because there's no way in heck that Trunks is like, oh, I just want to go kick butt IRL. Like, it was just like, really, but
people got some issues with that because they're like, how does Trunks not know how to deal with like tech stuff? His mom is Bulma.
well, I mean, do you think Vegeta knows how to boot up a computer?
Oh no, but but he knew how to use a spaceship. Is Trunks know how to use a spaceship?
Well, in fairness to Vegeta or even Goku, those like the brief family, they made that shit as easy as can be. Like Goku had a single button going to Namek to get that thing going. It was a big, huge 6 inch by 6 inch button, and then he would just push that thing, went skyrocketing and flying. And but no, maybe Trunks just wants to be more like his dad. Maybe I don't know. He didn't seem like that. This universe's Trunks obviously
Right.
didn't seem like that whenever he was a kid. He always seemed to like, I don't know, just want to be a kid. He didn't want to fight too much. But I mean, we did see the moments whenever they're training or Trunks and Vegeta are they're training in the gravity chamber,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, Trunks goes Super Saiyan, and then Vegeta's like, "Hey, you're in a World Martial Arts tournament. Everyone can go Super Saiyan now. It's a bargain sale." The classic funny line. But yeah, it's just if Trunks wanted to be more like his father than his mother, then I guess that would make sense. He also makes the remark whenever he's sitting in class, and Trunks shows up late for the class that he's attending, and you find out that the teacher doesn't give a hot shit that he is a brief. Like the teacher's like, I don't care who you are, who you will be, whatever. Stop being late, otherwise I'm gonna expel you. like like the teacher wasn't fucking around, and but then the kid that's next to Trunks is like, good one, pal. You can't even get into class without being caught or whatnot. And then I forget how the dialogue goes, but Trunks admits that he does not want to be the CEO of a corporation. He thinks it's going to be boring. So maybe his lack of interest in running the company therefore means that he has a lack of interest in computers and that stuff, and that's where it is. So
Yeah, it looks like with that though, we'll see because that's a long way down the line. Looks like then the daughter would be the one taking over Capsule Corp.
it kind of makes sense. I mean, because that would give Bola like a way to keep like the legacy of Bulma going.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we'll see. Should be should be interesting, but
I also still just can't believe how Trunks is trying to get with Mai. I get that like they got wished to be like young forms, but like Mai's older than Goku.
for real though, does Trunks understand that?
No, I don't think so.
Like, does that's the thing. I don't think, and I hope that I can correct myself in case I'm wrong, but I don't remember Trunks ever learning that, like, the history of the Pilaf gang,
Right.
like, and what they did and what they've tried to do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he knows. So then, yeah, that feeds into what you said. Teenage Trunks here. Let's say he's 16. Mai has to be technically she has to be like 60,
Yep.
like old as shit. But
Mm-hmm.
because of Dragon Ball, she's young. So I mean,
Well, she's
oh,
growing out of that wish body or whatever. Yeah, whatever happened to him, just like Goku did in GT at the end of like GT. Goku's
mm-hmm.
not a kid; he's back in his adult form.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if I really don't want to get into a philosophical debate of Like, if you were an adult and you get if someone made a wish to make you a minor, just no. This is like some Michael Bay kind of shit.
It really
And
is.
in Transformers 4, why not make your female lead? Why make her 17 so that you can talk about Romeo and Juliet laws of why it's okay to have sex with a minor? It's like, okay, Michael, like, just fix the plot. Just
Can we
make
also
it
talk
so.
about how Goten's hair, how it went from when he was like shorter, obviously looking identical to Goku, to now Goten looking identical to the Gohan who fought Cell?
I'm trying to think. Well, they are trying to match like Goten's hair more up with what he will look like
Mm-hmm.
at the end of Z,
Yeah.
because he did have a different hair style than what Goku did.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that's good. It kind of just shows some individualism.
Mm-hmm.
Goten trying to identify who he is, because I mean, if he just looked like Goku, I mean, the entire time, you know, as anyone, no one truly wants to be their parents. They want to be, that maybe they want to follow in some successful footsteps of their parents, but everyone wants to be their own individual. And hell, does anyone really want to look like Goku? Everyone gets pissed off when they see Goku. That was the part in the second Broly movie, Broly
Mm-hmm.
Returns Day, when Broly came around and he saw Goten, he got pissed. just It's just part of just that whole thing. So yeah, I don't mind that they're staying true to what they did.
I think it's
In
funny
Z.
too, like want to talk about like Romeo Juliet, like Michael Bay writing and stuff like that. Like one of the last pages where also police officer Krillin doing his 401k job, telling Goten and Trunks, this is no place for a couple of teens to be sneaking around. I was like, did you forget like that they are Super Saiyans? Like I'm pretty sure they could sneak around a normal place on planet Earth.
I mean, like, I don't understand why Krillin would even make that comment, because I mean, you make a point. Like, what during this bank robbery, Trunks takes the gun out of the guy's hand and crushes it like it was made of Legos, throws it in a trash bag, and says, "This will get cleaned up." And then, like, these people can dodge bullets, they can catch bullets, they can, fight people with hardly minimum energy required. And Krillin knows this. He's like, "Oh, there's no place for a teenager." Like, come on, man. Like, stop. Like, you guys have transcended human beings on the planet. There's the 5 people that could harm you, and random schmucks are not those people. So
Where do you think we go from here? Like, what's the next chapter going to be? Is it like them another superhero thing? They're going to add some stuff. Like, we have
I
a
think
we have a chapter next month in January.
I think this mini arc is going to run. I would think it would only run about 2 or 3 more, because
Mm-hmm.
I think what they're going to try and do is, because Dr. Hito was introduced and there was that disc
Mm-hmm.
of Dr. Giro's work. I think this will actually explain more and more how Dr. Hito created his androids, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Because actually, let me ask you a question here,
Mm-hmm.
because this might have just kind of clicked in my brain here. Do you know the Greek alphabet?
Ooh, not. I used to
No.
have to say it a long time in alphabetical order. I don't know if I could do
Well,
it now.
the reason why I ask is you don't even have to go far into it, but the first 3 letters are alpha, beta, gamma, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So using that logic, and how all of the Red Ribbon Army, whenever they made androids, they always went, up the chain. You started with Android 1, 2, 3, whatever, and then we saw Android 8, and then we got the 16 all the way up to 20. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So these androids that he created using the corpses of dead people. So just so you know,
Mhm.
audience, that yeah, he dug up a whole bunch of corpses and made them androids. They were Alpha Squad. They were
Mhm.
Alpha. And in the movie, we have Gamma 1 and Gamma 2.
Mhm.
So by that logic, we should have a beta android here coming with this arc, which maybe Beta Squad or Beta 1 or whomever will be the monumental task that Trunks and Goten will have to fight. And then that'll end their arc. And that will then give Dr. Hito the information that he needs to make Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 so much stronger.
So yeah, I was actually going to say two things on that too, because I'll go from that first before my previous thing. So maybe Trunks and Goten are the influence for why he made Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 so superhero-y, because he's going to get caught by Trunks and Goten, who are portraying superheroes. And also I was thinking too, like this mini arc is going to lead to why Dr. Hito was placed in jail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
then,
because he does have to go to jail
yeah.
For the movie to be canon.
So maybe that's how we're like, all right, how did Dr. Hito get in jail, and why did he decide that he wanted to make Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 have capes and be superheroes as well? And it might be off of Goten and Trunks.
yeah, he might be inspired by, their outfits and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
for Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. It also makes sense because this is like the same kind of logic. In terms of power scaling,
Mm-hmm.
Alpha Squad was weak as hell.
Yes.
And Trunks was able to dispatch them pretty easily. So, he'll make Beta, the Beta team or whatnot, and then they'll get beat. But, like, you remember, like, how overpowered Dr. Shiro made the androids. Because,
Mm-hmm.
like, he got the last bit of information that he gathered on the Z fighters was on, Goku and Vegeta when their power levels were like, 20 or 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
That he didn't, as Vegeta makes a remark, Dr. Zero did not study them whenever they were in space in their battles that they waged up. Excuse me, the battles that they waged up there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then he made androids that were stronger than Frieza to fight people who are as strong as Nappa. Like,
Right.
that's overkill. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so with like that logic, that would make sense then why Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 would be so strong, because Dr. Hideo uses these next set of androids to gauge the power level that he would need to defeat anyone like Goku and Vegeta again.
Right. Well, I agree. I agree, man. We're gonna see. I do think it'll be a couple months. I would think maybe it's done by March, because that's when I think that's the month Dragon Ball Superhero comes out in DVD and like digital for America. So maybe they time it that perfectly.
No. Yeah, I would say, especially if these chapters are super big,
Mm-hmm.
extra 7 pages, in the span of 3 months, that's 21 pages. That's half of a normal chapter.
Right.
That almost gives a full month right ahead of it. And since this is just a filler for that, yeah, you're probably right. And then, do you think though they'll do the same that they did for Broly though, and that they won't make a manga chapter for Broly,
Yeah,
and they'll
I
just
do.
skip right to after superhero?
Mm-hmm. Because then they'll skip that and then whatever arc thing that. Because I mean, like, there's no way they're gonna let Black Frieza live. Like, there's no way they're gonna go to that tournament with Oob, like you said at the beginning of this podcast, being because everything's getting retconned, carefree, willy nilly, and there's a dude who's a billion times stronger than them just wrecking havoc. No way.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way. You think that after Goku and Vegeta get back and they see that Gohan and Piccolo are in their forms, they just, I don't know, they bull rush Frieza? Or do you think they actually will need to train? Or do you think they're fighting a new enemy? There's no way they fight a new enemy before Frieza.
Nah. I do think, well, now you have to fill in, if we're doing these fill in the gaps, we have to fill in when they're training for Goku to go get Broly.
Oh yeah.
Because, which that was one of the things I liked in the movie, how they remembered how in Broly's movie, how Frieza's like, he wants to recreate that thing so he can have full control over Broly, because with Broly by his side, he'd be unstoppable. So, Goku and them getting Broly's like, hey, we got to bring him here because the only way to protect him from Frieza, because Frieza doesn't know how to get there. Now, if Frieza finds a way to get to Beerus's planet one day, oh my lord, that's going to be bad.
The fact that Goku can get there, and it's really only Goku, is kind of asinine if you think about it. Like,
I actually had a fun question to ask you about that planet too.
what?
So, even though, because obviously they didn't know this was going to exist, yada yada. Do you remember when Goku first went Super Saiyan 3 and the whole world was shaking and you could feel it from the afterlife and from the Supreme Kai's planet?
No.
How do you think the Supreme Kai's planet is further away from Earth than Beerus's planet? Because wouldn't Whis be able to feel that power? Like, this was the thing I was just thinking about. Like, wouldn't Whis be able to feel like, there's someone like really strong because I could feel his energy from here? Like, what's further away? Earth to Beerus's planet, or Earth to the Supreme Kai's planet and the Grand Kai's planet and hell?
I think Beerus's planet is further from Earth.
Okay.
Because Goku, I mean, I think Goku's been able to instant transmission under no pressure to the Supreme Kai's planet really easy. Like, like he felt whenever he was in Otherworld and he found out that Gohan was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
You remember he instant transmissioned to the Supreme Kai's planet without even Gohan having to power up. But like when Golden Frieza showed up back on Earth, I mean, it took all of the Z fighters. Like, actually, no, in the movie, all the Z fighters powered up so that Goku and Vegeta, or Goku could lock on to their key signature.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, and then in the anime, Gohan's basically like his dying breath was to go Super Saiyan as he's getting tormented by Frieza, and then Goku was able to lock on there. So where I'm going out with this, to get off Beerus's planet there earlier, Goku actually needed people to actually power up to catch their location.
Mm-hmm.
But when they were on Supreme Kai's planet, Gohan was swinging a sword around, and Goku figured out where he was. And granted, that was an Otherworld, but I think Otherworld is close to Earth, I would think. But it is the afterlife, so.
I would just love to see a map of how close they are.
Well, if you ever seen, like, it would need to be an updated map, and that map is probably full of bullshit, because you've seen those maps that they had of like what the universe looks like. It looks like a table with a glass like dome over it, and like the south pole of this place is where hell and the demons all are, and it shows like King Kai's planet and like one of the corners representing the four Kais, and then right above that it's like where the Grand Supreme Kai, and then right above it is where the Supreme Kai is, but it doesn't show Beerus's planet because again it was made 30 years ago. So I don't even know if you got a map you would be content with your answer that was given. It's just kind of asinine, but
it must be interesting. It would be freaking interesting to see. But so it's the end of the year. By the time this comes out, it'll probably be close to the end of the year, around New Year's Eve. Mitch, how are you feeling about Dragon Ball? We're about to go to 2023. Manga's back. We had a movie that exceeded the company's expectations because the company did not help it in any means in terms of marketing. And we still have no anime. People have said, again, 2023, an anime is coming. We'll wait and see. But how are you feeling about Dragon Ball right now? What were your top things you liked that you saw this year in terms of transformation fights or whatever? And are you expecting the anime back next year?
So in reference to this year, I mean, looking back in hindsight, they did a pretty good amount of things. It's just they didn't capitalize. I feel like to the maximum potential of this franchise.
Hmm.
With the movie was fantastic story script. Again, more of a copy and paste
Yep.
of a lot of different, like a rehashing of Gohan stories. So I mean, it is what it is, but they did pretty fairly well with that, and they added some twist to it with Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 and Dr. Giro's grandson actually not really being evil. He was just employed by an evil guy, and so the movie did pretty well. The animation style, I personally like the old,
Hmm.
the hand drawn kind of seeming like what Z looked like, but I understand that times change, and that's not really something to really harp on about. The manga itself, it did its job, but again, just missed opportunities. Like, did it have to end the way it did? With how Gas and Granolah, panned out there, kind of up for debate. But I mean, it just sets up for a good future with what Frieza is going to do. But like, I want to know, what is Granolah doing, because
Mm.
we can't we can't have Granolah not doing something, because Granolah does not like Frieza. And if Frieza is the strongest son of a bitch in this universe right now, Granolah cannot be sitting there doing nothing whenever they go and fight him. Like, he has to be an integral part of the story moving forward after or whenever Frieza starts getting brought up. Like, he has to be a Z fighter. Like, he has to join the squad. Okay, maybe not join the squad, but like he can be like his own kind of thing. But like, he has to have a role in this, and he's gonna die. He's gonna die soon. So it's
Hmm.
like, will Granolah see the end of Frieza?
Mm.
And I feel like that's going to be wasted, because there have been moments in which they have already wasted other plot points. So the fact, though, that Broly is even brought into the movie is kind of shocking. It really is. But I want Granolah to be like a Broly and not a Majin Buu, because Majin Buu is the most wasted character ever, and that guy should be a catalyst for a whole bunch of shit. Like, a lot of enemies should have their motivations based off of the history of Majin Buu, but that's for another that's for another topic of debate or discussion. Um, but no, I think, like, if I had to give this year a grade, like A, B, C, D, E, F of Dragon Ball, like, I don't want to give it an A, because there is no anime. But like, would I give it a C? I'm not giving it a D or an F, because literally the fandom has carried this franchise, and as long as they put anything out, it's like we're just going to enjoy what we're seeing here. I think I give it a B, maybe a B minus. Like, really enjoyed it, but just things could be tweaked and worked on, and Toei can actually show a little more care towards the franchise. It's probably pouring them in the most money, but
Mm.
it's like, and then just a little brush up with the storyboard that they're doing here. But maybe that's the thing. Maybe these 3 months off that we've had, 4 months off, maybe they actually weren't just sitting around like what I was doing during the hiatus, just kind of waiting for them to come back. Maybe they were actually in the office and they were like, "Hey, let's make a plan. Let's make a 3-year plan as to what these storyboards are going to look like, and let's stick to it. So things don't contradict themselves." I have no idea how they approached the Moro arc and the Granola arc, but just some things that they introduced in those arcs, I just didn't feel like they followed through with it. Like, during the Moro arc is the classic one I'll use. At the beginning of the arc, we learned that the Grand Supreme Kai, like back in the day, like Supreme Kai's, mentor, like he sacrificed his god powers to seal away Moro's magic. And that Moro's magic was this destructive force you were not going to beat it with brute strength. So then, like, I thought then, when Moro gained his magic back, that was the only way that they were going to do it. They were going to have to Goku and Vegeta were going to have to sacrifice their god powers. It just those were the things that were going through my mind. But that's not how it went. Instead, Goku goes MUI and gets a little extra boost from Oob, who has a little bit of god power left in him. Okay. And then we get Megazord MUI Goku. It's like it just from what was being built, it didn't seem like it was a vertical build, in that this tower was being built sideways going up. But maybe that's what they did. Maybe they had that plan the whole time, and I'm just overthinking it, or maybe they just wung it. I mean, the anime and the manga, during the Tournament of Power and Zamasu, they were very different. They were not the same. You go look at a manga for how like Zamasu ended, for example, not similar at all to the ending of the manga or the anime, the manga, whichever how I phrased it there. And then the Tournament of Power, yeah, they're not the same. So I don't know. I don't even know. Like, do you think that the anime will look the same whenever it comes out to what we've seen in the manga? Or do you think they're just going to do course correction for all the stuff that they, potentially think that they messed up on?
It depends on what day for them. If they care, I think they'll probably do course correction. If not, I think they're just gonna go their normal pace.
Yeah. What would you give this year? Like, if you had to give it a grade, what do you give it?
I think the thing that carries it for me is just still how Superhero got zero promotion. Like, it got more promotion after, like, for the DVDs in Japan and all that for when it actually came out in theaters. And the fact that movie in the States with no promotion opened domestically, the number one movie in the US, like, that is like that's the biggest like accomplishment for me. And like, just like you said, the fans carrying it. So I give it a B, because I feel like if they actually promoted that movie, it would even break even more records, and they were just being lazy. So I can't give them an A or a B plus. So I just have to give them a B. There are some things in the Granolah arc I didn't like. Just to think that like we get Ultra Ego, we get True Ultra Instinct, Bardock is back, all this stuff, and then all to end the way it did, I'm just like, eh. And I also just didn't like how, because I was believing it too. Like, I really felt like Alex's second wish was going to be like Omega game changing. And then we never saw it really.
Yep, we didn't. But,
those are my biggest things with
the one thing that I will say, this is what I hope for when the day comes that the anime comes back, and I'm not going to sit here and try to predict when it will come, because too many people who maybe they have more sources than I don't have any sources. I just read whatever I find on the internet. I don't text anybody and be like, hey, what's the scoop? No, I don't have shit. So if you're hoping for that, I apologize. I'm not going to break any news to you. I'm just going to report on it. But like, I hope that when the anime comes back, whenever that is, there is not a huge gap in subbed versus dub whenever it's released. Because if like, you should see that, like, people who over here in America, or even like anywhere, because you go down to like Mexico, for example, Mexico loves Dragon Ball. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're like Central America. You could make an argument they love it just as much as Japan. Like they are involved. When the Tournament of Power was having, finale there, like they had gatherings. They filled bars. I almost think they filled up a couple stadiums, like local stadiums, to watch the finale of Goku versus Jiren. They're all about. But like when the sub comes out, the dub has to be right behind it, if not right whenever it comes out, because this is a global phenomenon. This franchise, and
Yeah.
they just now maybe on the flip side they don't want that. Maybe they want the dub to come out or the sub to come out first, and then just have everybody just watching the sub, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to release the dub later because I know you know what's going to happen, and I know you've seen what's going to happen, and but I'm just going to change it up and have English voice actors because you're going to watch it twice. Because you're going to watch sub so you know what happens. You're going to listen to dub just to hear what it's like in English. So maybe that's part of their plan. Maybe that's why sub and dub don't come out at the same time.
Yeah, because they can do a simulcast. I mean, if they do the stuff that current anime are doing, like if you're big enough, you're like typically when you do a simulcast, it'll come out in Japan, and then that episode will be out in 2 weeks in like English. So they'll only be 2 weeks behind, which isn't bad at all. So if Dragon Ball comes back, hopefully they go that route where they are simulcasting. So whenever it comes out in Japan, in 2 weeks, that episode will be out in English. So they'll only be 2 weeks behind.
Well, we'll see though. I can't remember what was the gap between sub and dub with the anime though. It was feel like a few
It was a
months.
big gap. It was a big gap because like it
The
would be
Tournament of Power was done
Yep.
by the time that the dub Tournament of Power started, I think.
Oh, it was over. They were still in like Goku.
And Zamasu.
Yeah, and Zamasu.
Well, but hey, I mean, it keeps people interested longer. So I mean, I guess it works out for them. So.
That's true. That's true. Well, Mitch, anything else as we end this episode?
No, I appreciate everyone listening and appreciate, Byron and Justin as they edit this. It's probably going to be a pain in the ass because I'm a little rusty. So shout out to them and everything that they do for us. We couldn't do this without them. So appreciate them and appreciate everyone who listens and only take a second though to see what else the L7C has to offer. If you were just waiting for me the past 4 months, I appreciate you coming back, but there's plenty of other content around here. Got other anime experts who dive into other animes other than Dragon Ball, and if you think that my expertise is pretty fulfilling, let me tell you, they handle their stuff pretty well too. So give everyone a little shout out there too, and I'll also give, if you like wrestling, give Jacob, my fellow colleague here, give Jacob Mason some love for his wrestling podcast. He'll set you straight with what's going on in the wrestling world, all the way from mainstream down to indie. So we'll get you squared away. So, and then all the other ones, because we also have people who do serious discussions and look and see what they all have to offer in case you want something that is a little more maybe engaging on your brain. But we pump out all the content. So appreciate everyone for all the listens, and good to be back. So.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. I will say that if you wanted to see Mitch make his return, the L7C end of year podcast is already out by the time you're listening to this. It's out on YouTube. So definitely go check that out. That was a very entertaining time. We had 11, 12 people on that podcast. So definitely check that out.
A lot of shit talking. We're all good friends here on the L7C. We've known each other even before we started doing this podcast. So, you know, some things, you know, maybe it doesn't necessarily make sense as to what the hell we're talking about. But Martin's a good moderator and keeps us on track, and it's silly fun. So, but it's good, educational, a lot of shit talking, good entertainment. So give it a listen.
Yeah, and with that being said, that's just the L7C podcast. Dragon Ball is back. We'll be back.